Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Shojo's Bizarre Adventure. I am your host, Stella Luna, and I'm here with...
Hello, Neuzeth. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in. I'm so excited to start this podcast.
Me too.
We had so much trouble trying to figure out how to get this all set up because let me tell you, setting up a new account for everything is hard all at once, all at the exact same time,
Yeah,
and it's really difficult.
pretty much.
But yeah,
Yeah, we started from scratch.
yeah, we had to start from scratch. We had to start all over. I had to give my ID to YouTube so we could stream.
And then YouTube didn't let us stream either.
Yeah, and then last week we were supposed to do our first episode and they wouldn't let us stream. They were like, "In 24 hours you can stream." And I'm like, "What is this, YouTube? What's this? What's going on here? What is happening?"
Yeah, YouTube just wanted to make us suffer.
I just realized the chat's not also going. That's okay. That's fine. I don't know why it's not showing up. That's okay.
It's the first episode.
First episode. We'll figure it out later. So,
I'm just glad that we're live now.
yes. So, let's do a little bit of a breakdown for everybody who is here currently on the podcast. I'll probably cut this stuff out, just post editing. So we're gonna go over. I'm gonna go over a few things. Chat for you guys who are here who get to listen to it live, right? We do see you. We do acknowledge you. We do acknowledge you. We do see you, right? But
We can see you.
a lot of the podcast is just going to be us speaking. We will interact with you guys and we'll read out what you guys say. But we're not going to be doing every single message because we're posting this on Apple Music, and we're posting this on Spotify. And so for listeners who might be on those platforms, it won't confuse them. So just as a little, like, we're not ignoring you. We're not ignoring you. We're not being like, "Oh, we don't want to talk to chat." And no, goodbye.
Oh, yeah, I can see you.
Yes, we see you. Yes, we see you. See you. But just as a little heads up, podcast is going to be a little different where we're going to have episodes and we're going to upload those audio only. So that way our listeners who might be listening in the car or listening, at work or doing whatever, right? They're not confused by us interacting with chat and them not being able to see what's being said. So, trash cannon. But anyways, yeah. So we started this podcast. I came up with the idea a little while ago. I was literally laying in bed and I was just like laying in bed thinking about content ideas because I can't stop thinking about content ideas. And I came up, I was thinking and I went Shojo's Bizarre Adventure. And I was like, man, that would be a great podcast name. And then I was like, that would be a great podcast name. And I shot up from my bed and I was like, I need to write this down so I don't forget because Lord knows what my ADHD will let me forget. And it would let me forget this amazing idea for a podcast.
The name is so good.
I love
I still can't
the
believe
name.
it.
I love the name, and I cannot believe we got also at Shojo Podcast for literally everything.
Yeah. Every single social media, we're just Shojo podcast.
Just Shojo Podcast.
That's it.
That's it. So easy to remember. Mostly we did Shojo Podcast because, like, not only is it available on everything, but Shojo's Bizarre Adventure was just too long for some social medias. We couldn't use it as an ad, unfortunately. So I didn't want to go like SBA podcast. I was like Shojo Podcast, and I'm like, wow, that's actually no. This is what happened. Essentially, I put it into Twitter, and Twitter suggested at Shojo Podcast, and I was like, what? I was like, really? And so then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, it's available on. We were like, oh, it's available on everything. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, on every single platform.
On every single
It
platform.
was crazy because there are some shoujo podcasts already out.
Yes.
They're different from this one,
Yes.
but there are a few out. none of them had claimed just hashtag I'm not hashtag, at Shoujo Podcast, which is insane.
No, it's absolutely insane. But this podcast, essentially what this podcast is, it's a podcast, an otaku podcast by women for women. But we also include everybody else. But this
Mhm,
is a very like female and AFAB space for our listeners. Because we're going to be talking about a lot of topics that have to do with us being female creators, being, like in the otaku space, being shojo fans, like
mhm,
experiences. We're going to be bringing on guests within like like we would like to get people within the industry.
mhm.
We do have content creators that we want to bring on, but like I would love to have like industry guests as well at some point too. And
Yeah,
reaching
that would be
out.
amazing.
Yeah, it would be super amazing. Maybe like I would love, I'd love to get I'd love to get like voice actors on. But that's a dream. That's a dream. That's a dream
That
to
would
have.
be super cool.
Yeah. So we'll be talking about shoujo, and we'll be talking about like just kind of overall other topics too, because it doesn't have to be always just about anime. It's a podcast for people like us can listen to and relate to.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
and I feel like there's a lack of podcasts for, like, female otakus and just non, like, cis male otakus,
yes.
which is great. They have their own space, that's amazing, they have their own voice out there, but, like, what about the rest of us? So we're here.
Yeah, so we're here, and we're I was gonna say something, but I lost it. I lost it in my mind. Oh, loud is quiet. Okay, let me turn you up then. It's okay.
I'm quiet. Can you hear
No,
me now?
it's okay. It's on my end. It's my end.
Oh.
Don't worry. Okay. Thank you for that. Bring Kento Ito on. Chat says bring Kent Ito.
I
Ah,
mean
I mean that would be pretty
I mean,
amazing. That would be pretty
you would
amazing.
probably not hear me talk, I would just be like, "Oh my god." I would just be fangirling the whole time.
No, that's understandable. That's absolutely understandable. But I guess like part of the first episode, it's always hard because like first episodes are hard because we don't want to get into too many topics and we don't want to get too far because like anything can be really a topic. So this is I guess a chance
Mhm.
for us to kind of talk about ourselves and what we like and maybe how we got into anime and all that stuff. You want to go first, Lada?
Yeah, so I mean, both of us are around the same age. So our first exposure to, like, shoujo and anime was Sailor Moon in the 90s. Like, back then, I just thought I was watching, like, this really cool cartoon with a bunch of, like, super badass, like, female characters, like, it was just unseen of at the time. Like, you had all your other cartoons, and, I mean, you had some, like, really cool female representation in, like, Power Rangers, but
Mm-hmm.
not animated. Like, Sailor Moon was truly, like, the first one, at least mainstream in Mexico, that really showcased just, like, very strong and feminine, like, women. So, I was just, like, hooked. I was hooked as a kid, and it was, like, the first time seeing, like, Tuxedo Mask as a 7-year-old. I was just, like, in love. I was like, "What is this?"
Lada's
So
known her type since the beginning.
pretty much. It's like, "Oh, dark hair, tall, handsome? Yes." Although he was kind of a jerk back then, but it was fine. I mean, I didn't know any better back then.
No, it's understandable. Like Sailor Moon was the ultimate. Like I think Sailor Moon is most people our age, like shojo fans, especially our age, first introduction to anything anime slash shojo.
Mhm. Yeah, it is. But I mean, it's such a good series.
No,
Such a long series, but it was so good.
yes, yeah. Well, it's funny because like Sailor Moon was also my first. Well, it wasn't my first exposure to anime, but I was a huge Sailor Moon fan as a child, and I remember just being like encapsulated by just everything about Sailor Moon, from like her fighting crime to her like just
Mhm.
like having her friends and having the transformations and all the sparkles. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, I love Sailor Moon. I love this show. And it's funny because
Yeah.
I think the last episode I watched as a kid was at least this is like what was imprinted into my mind. It is that
Uh-huh.
scene in Sailor Moon Super S, and is essentially Chibiusa is like laying on this like table thing in front of Queen. I don't remember her name. Starts at the end. She's the one who's like
Uh, yeah, I know.
the hot lady.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, one of the many hot ladies in Sailor Moon. The hot villain lady. One of the many, very many.
I know which one.
Yeah,
It's N something, I forgot.
yeah. Nahelia or something like that. And
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
she like like the this like electricity black electricity hand thing like goes into Chibiusa and like takes out her dream mirror. And I remember I think that was the last episode they played before they cut it, at least for me. And I just like, what happens? What happens after it?
As a kid, I never watched it in order because the timeline within, like, the American, like,
Mhm.
Sailor Moon and the Mexican were completely different. So,
Okay, I do have a
I watched it
question.
out of order. Yeah.
Did you watch it in like there was a Spanish dub, right?
Yeah, there was a Spanish dub.
Did they censor things as heavy as the US version?
I They
Or
did do some
or
censoring, but I don't remember the cousin thing in the
oh, okay,
Mexican dub.
I was like, did they censor Haruka and Mitsuru? Because if they I was that was the most mind-boggling thing because I was like, man, they're kind of really close for being cousins.
Yeah. No, as a kid, I was like, it was very obvious that they had romantic feelings. So I was like, "Okay, like, that's I mean, they love each other, like, just like Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask love each other, like, it wasn't a big deal." But as soon as they mentioned the cousin thing, I was like, "Wait."
Girl,
What?
us here in the US are like,
I was like,
sweet home Alabama.
pretty much. Like, I just don't understand, like, I mean, we're talking about the '90s, so it
Yeah.
wasn't very LGBT friendly back then,
Oh
but
no. Oh
how
no.
on earth did making them cousins, like, that just made things even
Just make
weirder.
them best friends. Like, just make them best
Exactly.
friends, okay? Like, if you want to take out the gay, just make them best friends. Like, what the heck? Um,
Uh-huh.
but anyways, continue with your journey with anime. We're getting sidetracked here.
Okay, so then from Sailor Moon, then came Pokemon. Pokemon was a
Mhm.
phenomenon, like, it was
Oh, I
insane
love Pokemon.
how popular it was. It was everywhere in the US and also Mexico as well. It was on every single, like in the chip bags, it was on candy, it was you could not go anywhere
My favorite
without
was the little Pokemon gum. No
yeah.
one remembers this. I'm the only one who remembers this, and I know it exists because I've seen pictures of it. I've Googled it, and it was like this little. It was like it came in like a little round container, like little tin. Like it wasn't a tin; it was plastic, but it was like kind of
Mhm.
like this little round container, and then
Huh.
essentially there was like little gum that was like wrapped up, and then it had like another little wrapper around it, and then it would have like the individual Pokemon on it. And I remember like that gum was like my favorite. I also cried when I got it stuck in the cup holder in the back
Oh,
seat.
no. Oh, no. Oh my god. Yeah, but Pokemon was just so it was such a fun journey. Like, when the movie came out in was it 2000, I think? The first Pokemon movie?
It was 1999.
And dude, that was just insane. Like, I remember all the, like, concert specials he had, like,
Yeah.
NSYNC and Dream
Oh
Street
my
and
god, I saw a little I saw on TikTok a little commercial somebody
Yes!
like posted. Oh
I got
my
that
god.
today.
Flashbacks. And then like there it was such a big deal cuz like when I look back at it I'm like, wow, Pokemon was a really big deal.
It was a huge deal, like, I mean, nothing really compares to it, like, right
No.
now. Like, there's big fandoms, but it was just so mainstream.
Yeah, like every kid knew of Pokemon, liked
Yeah.
Pokemon. Like even like I would say any like millennial is definitely like even if they're not into anime and they're not into manga and nerdy things, they probably watched Pokemon as a kid.
Yeah, probably, most likely.
Yeah.
You just could not escape it.
No. Mm-mm.
I went to Catholic school back then, and they had to, like, ban Pokemon because
Evolution, right?
no, well, not evolution, because of Pikachu's ears. Since they're very sharp, they were like, "Oh, no, those are, like, devil horns." I'm
Oh
like,
my
"Dude."
god. Okay, okay. But you cannot tell me that Magmar didn't just come from the depths of hell.
Oh, no, yeah, yeah.
His little butt head. Like he literally, I've never like you got your butt chins and you got your butt heads. He literally had a butt head, like literally like two cheeks up on his forehead.
Yeah,
Do you remember Magmar?
I do.
Okay.
I definitely do.
I was just making sure because I was like I'm unsure that if you
No,
know who
the
I'm talking about or not.
the original Pokemon, I still remember because
Yes.
I spent so much time learning the Rap.
Oh my! I love the Poke Rap. Okay, I do have a question.
Uh-huh.
Do do you still feel like Gen 2 of Pokemon are the new Pokemon?
Yeah. Everything past Gen 2, I'm like, I don't know who they are.
Because, because okay, because like Gen 2 still doesn't feel like I don't know how to explain it. Like because I grew up with the original 151, right? And then Gen 2 came along, which honestly Gen 2 didn't
Mhm.
come along that much after. But for some reason in my little brain, my little pea-sized brain, it's like no, those aren't the new Pokemon. Those are all new. Those are all they're not old, they're
Mhm.
new. It's just like Luca from Vocaloid. She's still the new one to me.
Yes. Yeah, totally, I feel that. Then from Pokemon, I think I think it was Inuyasha next, because then I discovered Toonami, like, really late at night on Cartoon Network.
Mhm.
That was, like, the
With
next
Tom.
thing. Uh-huh. Yeah, and then I fell off a little bit.
That's understandable. Well, because at
But
the
then
time, we thought they were just
yeah.
cartoons.
Oh, dude, okay, so I feel like a lot of people in the chat are probably too young to remember this, but, like, it was such a different experience trying to rewatch anime or just watch anime in general in the 2000s.
Oh my god. I know where this is
Like
going.
yeah, like, me and Stella have talked about this. We used to have to go to YouTube, and every episode would be divided into several when I say several, several parts. You
Yep.
would be lucky if you can even finish an episode in the same dub.
Oh my god. Yeah. You would watch it in 3 parts. Yeah, part 1, part 2, and part
Mhm,
3 because YouTube videos back then only used to go to 10 minutes long. That was the
mhm,
max it could be uploaded is 10 minutes of footage. And so you would have to watch part 1, part 2, and part 3. And if you wanted to watch dub, right? Like you would look up dub, but sometimes you'd be like missing one. Or if you wanted to look up subs, the only you would have like part 1 sub in English and then part 2 would be for whatever reason the only one you can find is in Spanish. And I'm like, look, I don't speak Spanish. I wish I did, but like I'd still watch it. I'd still watch because like, I could try and pick up the context of what's happening. And then part
mhm.
3 would be back in English, or sometimes you would even find part 3
Yeah, like, it would just be incomplete incomplete episodes.
just completely
Yeah,
gone.
it was a pain. That's
No,
how I watched Tokyo Mew Mew on YouTube.
oh, that's how I watched Tokyo Mew Mew as well too, and all of Sailor Moon, by the way. But I'll get
Mhm.
I'll get to my origin story here in a moment.
Then what else? Yeah, and then quarantine hit. I mean, we're going way ahead into the future, but quarantine, dude, I mean, that was such a weird time,
hmm
but I just had way too much free time. I was like, "Oh, you know what? Let me rewatch all of Sailor Moon." And then that led to like, "Oh, I have all this money from stimulus packages and like I can finally start collecting things that I've always wanted to collect." One thing led to another, and I discovered TikTok.
Yep.
And the next thing you know, yeah, here I am,
And here you
the
are
podcast.
on the podcast. Well,
Mhm.
my villain origin story goes a little something like this. There I am, a little child, probably about 3 years old, 3 or 4 years old. And my mother had bought Kiki's delivery service from the discount bin. And she bought it for me. It was one of my first animes, actually, was Kiki's delivery service. Ghibli movie. Crazy, right?
Mhm.
And I had watched it and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with Kiki's delivery service. And I remember being like a child and I used to get my little broom and I got up
Aw.
on the couch and I would sit there and I'd jump off to try to fly. Or like I would
Uh,
also just stand on the ground and I would just be like, like when Kiki's hair and like everything around her is like starts like floating and it does that Ghibli thing, right? I tried to
yeah, yeah.
recreate that because I was like, I know I could do it. I know I can do it. I got magic powers. I know I could do it. I obviously I never did it. I'm not, I'm not magical. I'm not magical. But Kiki's Delivery Service was my very first like anything anime like exposure to Japanese animation. And then I started watching Sailor Moon, right? I was really into Sailor Moon, and I was really into Pokemon. I was so into Pokemon. That's a really funny story. I had my favorite toy as a kid was this Pikachu. That's little like cheeks would light up, and it would go Pikachu, right? It would just like speak.
I had that.
You had that? Oh my god, I had that.
Yes.
I feel like everyone I talk to has had this toy. But this was my favorite toy. My all-time favorite toy. And I went to the park with my parents. And when we had left, my parents had forgot to take it with them. And so they were like,
No.
"Oh no. Oh no, we need to get her a new one. Like we need to figure something before she notices." So my dad
Uh,
went out to the store and bought me this same toy to give to me and pretended it was like my old one, and I never noticed. Because this wasn't just like a toy. This was like my
uh,
favorite toy. I brought this thing everywhere with me. It was my baby, and I loved Pikachu as a kid. Like Pikachu was my favorite Pokemon as a kid. I mean,
uh,
to be fair, like I know a lot of people's favorite Pokemon is Pikachu and it's pretty basic, but in defense of the Pikachu lovers, Pikachu was an actual character in the show.
yeah.
Like was like a character just like any of the human characters. Whereas like we barely got
Mhm.
any screen time with, like some of the other Pokemon, right? Like if you were an anime only, of course like something like Pikachu would be your favorite. Well, if you played the games, I think you'd have different Pokemon you like. But anyways, um
Mhm.
so I grew up and eventually like I kind of phased out of watching. I didn't watch Pokemon as much. I would watch it here and then Sailor Moon got taken off the air. I couldn't watch Sailor Moon until about 2005 when
Mhm.
YouTube came around. And my friend showed me YouTube. And I was like, I wonder if I could watch Sailor Moon on YouTube. And I looked it up and I watched all 200 episodes on YouTube in like a month and a half.
Yeah, it
I,
would it would take
I
forever.
binged it. Now imagine there's 3 parts to each episode. You know how many YouTube videos I just watched? 600 YouTube videos. 600 to watch Sailor Moon. By this
Yeah.
point though, I like after I watched Sailor Moon, I figured out what anime was. I was like, "Oh, anime comes from Japan. It's like a specific thing. It comes from Japan."
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that. That's crazy. I thought it was just cartoons I was watching growing up. Me being 11 and now, discovering the coming of God for the first time. And
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have internet,
yeah, we
or
didn't
at
have
least it
internet.
wasn't the same thing that it is right now. It was completely different
Yeah, it
back
was
then.
so, so different. And then essentially my first anime where I like knew it was anime was actually Tokyo Mew Mew. And I watched all of that and I binged everything. Like anything I could get my little grubby little hands on, I'd watch it. Even if it was like really low quality bad anime or it was something that wasn't shojo cuz I at the time I didn't know there was a difference in demographics. Um
Oh, yeah,
I had no idea.
and, like, And some shows, like back in the early 2000s, even though they were marketed for girls in Japan,
Hmm.
when they brought them to the US, they completely changed things up because, I mean, it wasn't Sailor Moon was probably the first one that they went really hard with promoting it for girls, but Cardcaptor Sakura was,
Yes.
like, marketed towards guys.
It
It
was it was marketed towards like a I would say a more like more general audience, but kind of yeah,
Yeah,
leaning towards guys because we you look at the opening, right?
the
The
opening was
keepers
just
of
so
the
different.
cloud, the do
Uh-huh.
do's all a mystery. You know, like that. Instead of it being like do 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 do
I
do do
know.
do 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 do. Sorry. Do. I love that
Like,
opening.
Mexico did promote it for girls, like, they kept the same intro as Japan, just in Spanish,
Mhm.
but, yeah, the US version of Cardcaptor Sakura was just, like, rock music, like, generic rock music.
Mhm. It's interesting that they did that.
Mhm.
Like I watched Cardcaptor Sakura. I also watched all of Cardcaptor Sakura. But the thing about anime in like the 2000s that was really strange is that like I mean, I guess it's not really strange, but there were things that I watched where I was like, "Damn, that's this is not made for girls." Like it would make me uncomfortable watching it because it would look
Uh-huh,
cute
yeah.
and I would be like interested in it and then you would watch it and it's like, "Oh, what's that? Fan service?" Woo-hoo!
Oh,
Ah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, it was funny cuz so I took a trip to so when I was in 7th grade, right?
Uh-huh,
At this point, I had learned of what manga was. I was like, "I want manga," because I was like, "Oh," because when I found out that anime had comics,
mhm,
I was like, "Oh, it's called manga." So I went out and I went to this like a mall and this was on like a field trip that my school was doing. And we stopped at a mall and I went to a Barnes and Noble and I went in and I went to find manga and I found manga. And the first 3 manga that I got, I didn't know about the demographics. I didn't know shoujo, josei, seinen, shonen exist, right? I just picked
uh-huh.
out the ones that were cute and pretty, which could go really poorly if I didn't choose carefully, right? So
Uh-huh, yeah.
I picked out Pitchy Pitchy Pitch, Mermaid Melody, and because it had a
Mhm.
mermaid on it, and I was like, "Oh, a mermaid," right? I picked out this one called Fairy Cube, which I think it's in Shoujo B, but I don't remember if it's a josei or if it's a shoujo. And
Uh-huh.
then I picked out one, that had this, like, really cute, like, purple girl on it, and I don't remember the name of it, but I remember, like, I didn't even look in these books. Like, I didn't actually go looking into it to see, like, what it was about. I just bought them because they were manga and they were cute.
Uh-huh,
And
yeah.
so when I was reading it on the bus home, I remember this one specific one having, like, quite a bit of fan service, and I closed it, and I was like I was like, "Never pick this up again." Because I didn't read into it. I didn't think about it. I just was like, "This is
Yeah.
cute. It has like a little fairy looking thing on it, so I'm gonna buy it." And so I bought it.
No.
Yeah. I learned my lesson that day. Always make
Don't
sure
judge a
that
book by its
yeah,
cover.
literally don't judge a book by its cover. But yeah, I've been an anime fan pretty much ever since. Like I've like I don't have like we got into quarantine and all that stuff. It was like just the same thing. Cause like I've liked anime since I was like 11. Like knowingly know it's anime. So I didn't like really phase out of it because like I got too old for things. It was more like, well, if it's not on TV, I can't watch it.
Yeah. I mean, now it's so easy with all
Oh
the
my
streaming
gosh.
services.
I know. Well, like one of the series I used to watch, it was called Kirin Revolution, and it's like there's not a lot of people that I know who know of this show, but it's essentially about a girl who is an idol, or no, she's not even an idol. She wants to be an idol, but not really. She only wants to be an idol because she wants to get close to this guy who is an idol. Okay. And that
Oh,
she
okay.
meets, like, and she wasn't into like this, like idol boys or whatever, right? But it's about her journey, like, as an idol and all that stuff. And I remember trying to find this series because I saw the opening on YouTube because I used to find anime by just looking up anime openings on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, that was the thing.
Yeah, that's how I used to find anime, and I found this one, and I was like, "Oh, this looks really cute." And so then I open it up, or I try to go find it, and I can't. It's not on YouTube. It keeps getting taken down off YouTube, so I couldn't find it on YouTube. So the only thing you had to do was if you can't find it on any other website, yeah, I go to the sketchy website, and I probably gave my computer lots of viruses that day, or for all of those days because it was 103 episodes long. I watched every single episode, and the amount of viruses that your computer probably got, ugh,
Oh, yeah.
like
Oh my god, I can't yeah. That takes me back to, like, Napster and LimeWire and all of that stuff.
LimeWire. Oh God, I remember my friends using LimeWire. I didn't have LimeWire on my computer, but my friends did, and I just remember being like, "Whoa, this is so cool! Like that's so cool! I want LimeWire, but my mom says no," and I'm like, "Yeah,
Well,
there's a good
I
reason she
didn't tell
said
my
no."
parents. I would, like, install it and then uninstall it. So they wouldn't find out, but, I mean, they would find out because you would download a file, and then it would have a virus.
Would have a virus, and it's just like it was literally like LimeWire was like it was just full of viruses. Like that whole thing was full of viruses.
Yeah.
And it was so bad.
It was
Oh.
really bad. Like, you could go in there looking
Mhm.
for, like, the Sailor Moon theme, and then what you would get was, like, some remix version from some DJ, and then you would have, like, DJ blah, blah, blah as, like, the you would just hear that over and over and over in the track. Like, it was so hard to find, like, a good audio of whatever you were looking for.
Yeah.
It was a pain.
No, it was always a pain. But what are some of your favorite animes?
Well, we talked about Sailor Moon
Yeah.
and Cardcaptor. I love magical girls. It's such a
Are
good
you a
genre.
pre are you a Precure fan?
I've been wanting to get into Precure, but I just don't know which one
It's
to
so
watch.
overwhelming because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot. I know there's one, I think it was a more recent season that has a character named Laura.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so maybe I'll just watch that out of just selfish reasons. But I love, Revolutionary Girl Utena as well, Fruits Basket, Kimi ni Todoke, Otakoi with Kent Ito.
And Ito! We love him.
But, what else? Kimi ni Todoke, Kami-sama Kiss, I love as well, Snow White with the Red Hair. Ah, that's such a good series. It's definitely not a romance, and a lot of people will always sell it as a romance, it's more slice of life, like, extremely a slice of life.
See, if
The
people told me that, then my opinion on it might have been different. Because I
Yeah.
I watched Snow White with the red hair, and I was like, "Where's the romance? I'm bored out of my mind." If I knew it was just
Yeah.
like kind of a slice of life, I would have went into it so much differently.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Because when I first got into Snow White with the Red Hair, I got into it because people sold it as a romance, but then I started watching it, I was like, "Oh, like, this is cute." But again, just like you, it's like, where's the romance?
Where is
There
it?
Yeah, there's some cute romantic moments, but it's just not the focus of that series. So, yeah, very heavy on the slice of life if you
Yes.
wanna get into Snow White with the Red Hair. There's just, a lot of great series, and this past year, we've really seen I mean, some people online are calling it, like, the Shojo renaissance.
You know what? I have
'Cause
noticed a lot more shojo coming
yeah.
out.
Yeah, finally. I mean, it was about time. Like, we've been literally asking for more shoujo anime adaptations for years.
Hmm. I mean, and
Some
even just Josei, like, I mean, we just had Yamada-kun come out,
Yeah?
Loving Yamada-kun at level 999, which, by the way, if you haven't watched it, phenomenal, great. Read the manga. Whew!
Mhm.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Woo!
The manga's finally getting published, like but it was available digitally, but we'll get physical copies very
Yeah,
soon.
buddy!
About time.
Now we just need a season 2.
Yeah, we just need a season 2, not a dub. I mean, we appreciate an English dub, but I just want a season 2. Like, it's the shoujo renaissance or shoujoze renaissance, it's great, but at least give us a second season. Like, break that
Yeah, break the
break the
mold.
season 1 curse, give us a complete adaptation,
Well,
please.
the thing is, like, Fruits Basket did so well, right? Like, so
Uh-huh.
well. It's like one of the top rated anime on of all time, right? And we had 3 seasons. And that's the thing is like we only get season 1 of all of these shows where season like if they had 2 or 3 seasons, 4 or 5, I don't know. They there's time to develop things cuz like the reason that
Mhm.
like shojo is usually rated not super well is because they don't give it enough time to actually develop what happens because I feel like when it comes to shojo a lot of things develop over time rather than it being like
Mhm.
it's not super quick, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of it's slice of life and newsflash, people's development in real life, like not character development, but like when people change in real life, it's over time. It's not an instant. It's not like they wake up one day and go, "Wow, I'm not a bad person anymore."
Yeah, pretty much. Uh-huh. They just don't give these series a chance, so,
No.
like especially with, like, something like Wotakoi, I get asked, like, "Oh, but, like, where's the romance?" Again. I'm like, Yeah, you'll have to buy the manga for that, because they barely capture any of that. We only get 1 season and then, like, what was it, like, 4 OVAs that
Yeah,
they're
like
not
3 or 4.
legally available anywhere, which
Yep. Well, and then they just the last OVA, they just gloss through the manga, like just like
they
screenshots.
glossed.
And
Yeah.
and I was like, "Are you serious?" I won't spoil anything for anyone who hasn't seen it, but like let me tell you, when I was mad. I was mad because there was one specific thing that I wanted to see between
Yeah.
Hana and Kabakura, and that's all I'm going to
Yeah.
say. One thing
Huh?
happened. I wanted it animated so I could cry, so I could sob,
Uh-huh.
and could feel
They didn't
included.
even give us a chance to cry.
No, it didn't. It did not. Well, and it's funny because I've talked to people about Wotakoi, and
Uh-huh.
I've talked to them, and everyone loves it. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's so good,"
Yeah. People
right?
love it.
Like, I think anime needs to start moving forward with more series that are like more mature because now the audience that grew up with it
Mhm.
are now older, and I would like older series, like about older
Yeah.
people.
Like, imagine if they actually continue Wotakoi and would have given us a full adaptation, like, you could have had a lot more merchandise,
Hmm.
themed cafes, like, the possibilities would have been endless.
But
But they didn't give
no.
us
But
yeah, they
no,
didn't give
they
us anything.
no, but no, they only give us season 3 of Rent a Girlfriend.
Season 3 of
Nobody asked
Rent-A-Girlfriend.
for it.
Quintessential quintuplets movie in theaters nationwide.
You know
But
what I feel
Fruits
like?
Basket Fruits Basket movie, only 3 days, select theaters.
Yeah.
That is
I I feel like that meme of Robin Hood in like the 80s like animated film, Disney animated film, where they're furries. Uh
Mhm.
and he's like in the old lady outfit, and he's like looking for, like gold. He's like, donate to the poor. Is like an old lady, and it's just that meme of like, can I get a crumb of season 2, please? Like, can I
Pretty
get a
much.
crumb of season 2?
That's us. Like, please, just just one season 2, please.
Yeah, season 2 would be great.
Ugh.
Some of my favorite animes include Wotakoi as well. Sailor Moon, right?
Mhm.
Lovely Complex is one, and that one's one of those that like holds a special place to my heart. because I think mostly because I really relate to Risa, like who's the main protagonist in the series. I love her a lot, and she kind of reminds me of myself. Like if I was to what do the kids call it these days? They call it kinning, right?
Oh, yes.
If I was to kin a character, it would be Risa. It would be Risa, and because she's tall girl, and she has like her insecurities and stuff, and I remember being that age and being like, yeah, I relate so hard because I'm a pretty tall woman myself. Another series I really like is I didn't come prepared because I love so many series a lot. I like Kimi ni Todoke. I do like Demon Slayer. I know not Shojo, but like I've really enjoyed Demon Slayer.
Mhm.
Um I
What else
watched
do you
I'm
like?
blanking. I'm literally blanking on all the shows that I've ever watched and that I love. Uh because I'm like,
Oh, I didn't even mention,
what?
uh, Sasaki and Miyano too. I love that
Oh,
series.
I haven't finished it, but
Oh,
JoJo
it's so
absolutely
cute.
loves it. And I mean
It's so
I
cute.
did watch I was watching it with him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my partner, he watches BL. He's the BL one, like BL lover between the two of us. Which is very funny to say. The cosplays that we're gonna do, so cute, and I get to be like the quote unquote uke when
Oh.
we cosplay these BL ships. It's so funny. And then
Oh my god.
I could just okay, I just imagine people coming up to us and be like, okay, all right, like how much does she pay you to cosplay with her? And then he'd be like, "Oh no, no, you misunderstand.
Uh-huh. No, no, no.
I made her cosplay with me."
That would be oh my god, I can't wait.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yuri in the chat, Princess Tutu.
Uh-huh.
She said Princess Tutu. I love Princess Tutu as well. It's one of those things where it's like when I come back to it and I go, oh, I love this series because I always forget. Like I can love a series like intensely, but then I will completely forget about it. But that's just due to my ADHD. But oh yeah, Banana Fish is another one too. I love
Mhm.
Banana Fish.
Banana Fish is the shoujo.
Yes, it is a shojo. It is a
Uh-huh.
shojo, which is like I remember watching it and going, "Wow, this is a shojo," but I can kind of see why it's a shojo. Because that's the thing is, people think that shojo is just all like bubbles and bubblegum and like cute and like romance
No,
and all
high
that
school
stuff.
stories and stuff like that, like, no.
Well, the amount of people who call things like Horimiya a shojo or Toradora a shojo, and I'm like, these aren't
Uh-huh.
shojo.
No.
They're not shojo. Skip and Loafer. And I'm like, Skip and Loafer is also not a shojo.
Mm-mm. Nope.
And
It is not.
because like I think people associate shojo with strictly romance. And yes, there are a lot
They
of
do, yeah.
shojo that are romance, right? Like I can understand that misconception like if you're like
Mhm.
really new to anime, but like it's not always just shojo. Like Banana Fish doesn't technically have romance, but it does have
It
romance. Like it's romance for the readers. The readers get to sit there and
yeah.
go, "My boys,
I
my
remember
ship."
one that you haven't mentioned.
What?
Nana.
Nana! I love Nana.
Yeah?
Oh my
Uh-huh.
god, we're gonna have a whole episode about Nana because I have a lot of feelings about Nana. Good, I have a lot of good feelings about Nana, but like it's one of those shows that like I think deserves its own episode because it's. I think Nana is probably one of the best shojos. Like,
Yeah, that's a shoujo.
um,
It for
technically,
yeah, I mean,
I,
we can have a full episode on just the Japanese demographics because there are a lot of
yeah,
things that, like,
or inconsistent.
eh, yeah, they're inconsistent, they just don't make sense, like, shoujo in Japanese is literally translates to a young girl.
Yeah.
Josei is an older lady or woman, but then you get some series like Nana and, like, what's another one? Love of Kill,
Yep.
and also Yakuza Lover as well, that are technically shoujo, but with an asterisk. It's, like, for older
Well,
for older shoujo.
the thing is that Nana was published in a a shoujo josei magazine. So it
Mhm.
was both. So I don't know if it's just misinformation online, like where they're getting like shoujo from. Because when I look at the
Yeah.
magazine that it's in, it says it's both, right? So why is
Yeah.
it labeled as shoujo? I know people will be like, well, it's in shoujo B. And it's like, okay, but like shoujo B, it doesn't always just include shoujo. It has josei
It
as
doesn't.
well.
Yeah.
It's
Uh-huh.
just the name of like the
It's just the imprint.
yeah, it's just the imprint, not like not the like actual demographic of every single one of those. Like, yes, they're all
Mhm.
for a female demographic, but that doesn't mean they're all shojo.
Yeah.
And
You have to read the back of the book.
that's why I'm like I'm always confused with Nana because with Nana, I just don't understand because like there are so many things like I understand that young girls, like teenage girls can like read it, but I don't think they're going to understand it in the way that adults do. And
Yeah.
I take that
Understood,
from
yeah.
my own personal experience because I first watched Nana when I was 16. And then I watched it again as like a full grown adult. And the experience was completely different. It was completely different. And so it just
Mhm.
confuses me with Nana, like that it's classified as a shoujo. I think it should be a josei technically. And
Yeah.
I personally I don't know where they get the shoujo from. I don't
Agreed. Yeah.
I don't understand it because all the internet I know the internet says it is, but like if it's in a
Oh,
magazine for
people
both.
get very heated about that too.
Yes, they
It's
do. Well, I'm gonna get heated.
it's like, dude, it's like we can agree. It's meant for an older audience.
Yeah, like let's not pretend it's not like made for an older audience because I'm like,
Uh-huh.
what teenager can relate to what happens in Nana? Like, there's really not a lot that can be related to, and specific like yes, shoujo can have deeper or more mature topics in them, but like there's just a certain type of like experience you have to feel for it, like to be able
Mhm.
to really understand like the nuances that happen in Nana. Not to mention, it doesn't make sense to me because the previous work that I yeah the I'm trying to remember her name.
Yeah. Oh
That
my god, why am I
the
blanking? Yeah,
I
I
gotta
know
look
who
this up now. I gotta
I
look.
know, I know.
I'm gonna
I guess that one?
fake
I guess that one,
fan.
right?
Yeah,
Oh my god, what a poser. I think
wait,
I
Nana I Yazawa? Is it
Yes, yeah.
Yazawa? Okay, it is. Wait, no, that's not it. That is
Is that
definitely.
how you pronounce it?
Oh yeah, no, it is Yazawa. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hold on,
Uh,
I was like, what came up didn't look like. Yeah, Yazawa. Yeah, her previous work was Paradise Kiss, which was a josei.
mhm.
So like to me, it doesn't make sense that she would go from josei and writing more mature because her one of her earlier works is Neighborhood Story, which is amazing, absolutely amazing, like good story, and it
Mhm.
takes place in the same world as Paradise Kiss. Actually, the main character of Neighborhood Story is the sister character of the pink haired girl in Paradise Kiss. And there, so it is connected. And you do see the main cast, some of the main cast from Neighborhood Story in Paradise Kiss. But Neighborhood Story was a shoujo, and then Paradise Kiss was a josei. And so it doesn't make sense that we get to an even more mature story and it would be
Uh-huh.
back to a shoujo.
Yeah.
Yuri says maybe they thought it would sell better if they aimed it at a younger audience. Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe. It would it again, this would be a great topic for an episode of talking about demographic.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely have to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get into that in another episode, because we have quite a bit of we got quite a bit of ideas. But what are some of your
Mhm.
goals for this podcast?
Um, I just wanna create a safe space for fans like us
Yes,
that just feel like they don't really have a voice in, like, the anime podcast universe.
yeah,
I don't know if you can call it that. But, yeah, just to get a different perspective out there from what you typically see for like an anime or manga related podcast.
Yes.
That's my goal, just to provide a safe space for our type of commentary to live online.
Yes,
What
I
about for
agree.
you?
Yeah, I would say mine is about the same because my goals as like an individual creator was to also gain like a much more larger female audience, right? And like because
Mhm.
some shojo is something I've always loved talking about, and this is a space that I can have that, right? Because my normal content is usually like meme and funny, and I be goofy and all that stuff. And while my normal demographic is a lot of dudes, and which is fine. Like I don't have any problem with that. Like I love my audience and my community. They are some of like the funniest and best audience that I've ever had as a content creator. And
Mhm.
but I want to expand it because I want also a female audience, right, as well. And to try and diversify. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast was because like I wanted to be able to move past just like I wanted to do some stuff that I want to do, right?
Yeah.
And a huge reason, like first of all, having you as a co-host absolutely great. And but I wanted to also expand and break boundaries as a VTuber because as you guys clearly can see, and for those who are listening who might not know, I am a VTuber. I think that's pretty obvious. If you guys don't follow me, who knows? They might come across the podcast and they not know I'm a VTuber, like on
Yeah.
Spotify or on Apple Music. But I want to break the boundaries instead of just collabing with other VTubers. I want to start expanding and going to other audiences and creating with other creators that are not just VTubers. I don't want to be stuck in just being a VTuber, right? VTubing is
Yeah.
how I express myself, but my content, I want it to be more than just quote unquote VTuber content, right? And so
Mhm.
I wanted this podcast not only for a safe space for like other like for other like female otakus and or AFAB otakus, but also as well as a space just kind of for myself too. Right? Like I'm
Mhm.
included in that in that space,
Yeah.
And having a place that we can sit down and we can talk about openly, just talk about whatever it is, like shojo or like it could be like any creator stuff, like being female content creators. It could be like talking about industry stuff. It could be us just having a conversation about being women, right? Like that's
Mhm.
a good place to have it, and I can't really do that with my male audience because like they just can't really like it would be me venting versus like and them just kind of being like yeah 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 instead of people who might agree or they might disagree and they might like feel seen, right, in this
Yeah.
space,
And I
right.
feel like you and I have had a lot of like these more not serious conversations, but just female oriented conversations that although a lot of my actual, like, content that I put up tends to be more female oriented, like, I have this is a joke with a lot of, like, my TikTok content creator friends. I think I have, like, a 96% female audience on TikTok, like, something
Whoa.
something like that, like, overwhelmingly female audience.
Yes.
Also on YouTube as well. Um, there just isn't well, I haven't created a space for myself to talk about, like, being an asexual woman that likes
Hmm.
romance manga and stuff, like, things like that, because I always just focus more on, like, talking about the specific series and just kinda, like, reviewing and stuff like that, so, yeah, this is gonna be a good outlet for, not only myself, but just, like, us, just to have a casual conversation about whatever it m whatever it may be.
Yeah, and having this space really it is like you said, it's not just for us, it's for other people too, to be able to listen and to be able to enjoy the podcast, whether they're working, whether they're on a drive, maybe they're taking a road trip, who knows what they're going to be doing listening, and having that space because I really haven't come across a lot of like just podcasts in general that like that do what we're doing,
Mhm.
and I want that's what I want. I want a space not only for us but for other AFAB and female otakus to be like, yes, 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 yes. Also
Yeah.
outside of the space of like TikTok as well, because you know how TikTok is.
Oh, yeah.
It ends up on the wrong side of TikTok, and then it's like, well, there you go. We're getting we said something someone didn't like, and now they're gonna find every
Yeah.
single way to try and cancel us.
We know that pretty well.
Yeah, as creators, yeah. But yeah, I think that concludes our first episode of the podcast.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yay!
that was thoughts, feelings. How you feel?
I feel good. I'm so excited for next
Oh
week's
yeah, I'm so
episode.
excited to actually dive into actual topics because I'm
I
like,
saw
look, I like
huh,
the first episode, but like, man, there were so many things I'm like, okay, we gotta reel it back. We gotta reel this back
yeah,
because if we don't, we're gonna have nothing to talk about in later episodes.
exactly, yeah. No, but I saw a lot of tuxedo mask in the chat.
Yes,
So, for those of you who were typing tuxedo mask, next week's episode is going to be a tuxedo mask
it's
episode
just
because
gonna
we
be
have
about tuxedo mask,
literally
just tuxedo mask. So,
because we
um,
have some very strong opinions
oh
and
my
we
god,
both love tuxedo mask,
mm-hmm.
but the internet has some different thoughts. And you know what? I want to defend my boy, okay?
Yes, I would defend the boy because I also love Tuxedo Mask and I want to defend him as much as possible. But yeah, yes, we are doing a podcast episode every single week.
Mhm.
It will be uploaded to Spotify Music or Spotify and Apple Music, every week, but it will be I think a week delayed. So because
Yeah,
it'll
there's
take a
gonna be a
week.
little bit of a delay.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so this episode should be up next week, next Sunday. And so it'll be delayed for our listeners. So if you guys are listening on Apple Music or Spotify and you want to see it live, we do stream it here on YouTube every single Sunday at 3 p.m. PST or 6 p.m. EST.
Yeah, that way you can join us. But if not, you can just replay it at your convenience at the office, which is what I do when I listen to podcasts.
Yes.
You can drive to work listening to us, whatever it might be.
Whatever it might be. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yes, that's it for this week's episode.
I'm so
Yes.
happy.
I'm so happy too. I'm excited for this. It's gonna be great. We're gonna have a good time. But
Yes, we definitely will.
all right. We don't have a way to end this. What do we say?
Go read some shojo.
Go read some shojo.
Go
If you have
watch My
oh,
Happy Marriage. Go watch
go
that.
watch My
Brand
Happy
new
Marriage. Or
yeah, brand new Josei series.
if you have suggestions for topics that we can talk about, you can use the hashtag Shogestion. I don't remember how to type that. So if you want to type that in chat, yeah.
Suggestion. Yes, you can use the hashtag suggestion. It's gonna pop up in the chat.
Yes. Yes. Our podcasts last about an hour, just to
Mhm.
let chat's asking right now, asking, is the stream ending? And yes, the podcast only
Yes.
lasts about an hour because that's how long podcasts usually are, or like an hour. So yes. Hashtag Shogestion. I think it's SHOJE. How do you spell suggestion now? I don't remember. I don't remember. You can look on our Twitter. We're on Twitter.
Yeah, you can look at our Twitter. We have a birthday in the chat, so happy birthday.
Oh yeah, happy birthday.
And then yeah, our socials are in the information box, so you can follow us everywhere at Shojo Podcast, and you can also find our personal shojos, our personal social media linked in the information bar as well.
Yes. All right. I guess that's it for this episode. So
That's it for this episode.
we will see you guys next week.
All right, everyone. See you next week.
All right, goodbye.
Bye.